So very good evening once again. I welcome you all. When I came to know from you, we are doing Sheroes of Business conversation with a new age women entrepreneur. So on February 11th, there is an International Day for Women and Girls in Science. You know that? So after few days, we have an International Day for Women and Girls, and this day is celebrated to promote the full and equal access and participation of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So here we have three new age entrepreneurs who make a difference in the world of science, technology, new age businesses, and all. So to start with, uh, if you allow, I introduce Ms. Priya Gandhi. She served as an executive director with Hiester Biosciences, and she hold a degree, undergrad degree, in Srishti School of Art, Design and Technology, which she is not doing now. Okay, but she has done a PG in Master of Family Business from reputed management school ISP Hyderabad. And outside her professional endeavor, she is an avid enthusiastic of Indian classical dance. That's great. So, and this company, which she is a ED, is renowned for manufacturing veterinary vaccines and health products. So, I welcome her and ask her to share her thoughts and vision for the new age entrepreneurs. Thank you very much. Acha, I'll complete the introduction. Okay. Our second guest, Miss Anushri Patel. She's an architect. She graduated from Architectural Association in 2020. She's also a business management graduate in family management from ISB Hyderabad. She's trained florist, huh? That I don't know, from London Flower School. Great. That is good you have a rose with you. And enjoy the hot host pop-ups of floral arrangement under Valen. Okay, that's very, very great. Thank you very much for being here. And I think most of us know as Ms. Deval Suparkar. She started her career in 2002, and she's very strict, and she told me I'm the founder for the real estate, first lady in the real estate business. Let's clap for her. Okay, and she won the prestigious awards in the real estate sector, the Young Women Developer Award by the Built India Group, the Panasonic Real Women Award for the Enterprising Development, Inspiring Women Award by Happy Bees and Elevate. We welcome her at AMA. And our very own Mr. Sanjay Chakravarti is here to moderate the session. We welcome you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neeraj Bhai, for chairing the session and introducing my lovely guests and the speakers. When I see you all, I have a complex. The wish I was like you at your age. Yeah, that's the biggest thing I'm finding it now. So, on behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association, I once again welcome you all to this second edition of Sheroes, a discussion with the new generation women entrepreneurs. As Richard Branson says, entrepreneurship is about turning what excites you in life into capital so that you can do more of it and move forward with it. India was a country where a woman was, even owning a bank account was considered as a major benchmark. However, in current situation, we have 15.7 million women entrepreneurs and owners having enterprises, with women leading the startup ecosystem. The drastic transformation clearly underlines the potential of Indian women and their determination in coming decades. India is set to witness a major shift, with women dominating the workforce as well as shaping the enhancing the future of our country. In past few years, in fact, has seen a considerable surge in the number of women venturing into and succeeding as entrepreneurs in India. Thereby they influence the social and economical demographics of the country. Very interestingly, you see approximately 50% of Indian startup ecosystem are currently powered by women. Right? A big round of applause for all the women. Yeah. As Hillary Clinton says, women are the largest untapped reservoir of the talent of the world. Okay, today, here's to those strong women. May we know them, we may be them, or may we raise them. Today, I'm extremely glad to have three dynamic entrepreneurs with us, Ms. Deval, Swaparkar Ashana Infrastructure, Ms. Anushri, lead designer from HPA, and Priya Gandhi, executive director for Exter, and also has a Blu-ray Aviation. Okay, why I say so? There's a special reason behind it. We can very interestingly now, all of us sitting here, we can interestingly say that we are within a great and a happy company of real estate developer who can provide good homes with excellent architectural and interior design, and also luxurious aviation who can make us fly high. Okay, so we are having a combination of all of them. So let's start the discussion with some interesting questions, and these questions may be common to all of you. You may have a different perspective to the questions, and at the end we'll give the opportunity to the audience to raise their questions. The question should not be proprietary, neither asking kitna turnover hai, because in Ahmedabad you'll find such questions very well. Okay, so we don't allow such questions, but you can ask them about what have not been answered here. Okay. So as we say, life is a journey. It's not where we end, but it's how we got there. So request you to tell us something about your professional journey. So we should start from the youngest one. Anushri, you're the youngest one, right? Yeah. I think I'm not offending the other two because everyone says I'm the youngest one. Yeah. Okay, you can start.
Hello. Yeah. So I was in London for my education in undergrad and masters from the Architectural Association. I had to come back during COVID. And my professional journey very interestingly started here with AMA. During my 4th year, I had applied for a scholarship and I went to Japan thanks to AMA. And I had the brilliant opportunity to design the Japanese garden right outside over there in association with Neha. And it's such a big prestigious project. So I would say the career did start at quite a high. And then after that, I realized that, okay, maybe designing is fun, but I don't think I can add more value because my father has an architectural practice, which I would say is pretty much successful, and he has built quite a legacy. I felt if I would just sit and design, I would be probably adding, let's say, 50 more projects a year. What value am I adding to the company right here? So I thought of doing an MBA from ISB, just like Priya, in family business. And that is where I think my entrepreneurial spirit was risen. And we started a real estate wing at our company. And we launched 2 projects under it. One is Monkey Forest, so it's a 50 villa plotting scheme, and then we have Zen, which is a 250 villa plotting scheme. And now, along with that, I also look after how can I help in growing our firm to an international scale, because we've already reached a national scale. So I'm looking more at the business side of it as well, and now I guess it will go on.
Yeah, we'll come to Priya now. Yeah, Priya, please.
Yes. Firstly, thank you, AMA, for having us, and thank you all present here, taking the time out and coming and hearing us. So I went for an art school for my undergrad. I was never going to join my family business because my father, Rajiv Gandhi, who started Hester, being a first-generation entrepreneur, I think it comes with its own set of challenges, pressures, and I think throughout my childhood, I've seen that. I have an older brother, so we've both witnessed that firsthand, that, oh my God, this is a lot of pressure and this is a lot of stress, and I don't think I want to do this. So I was never going to join it, and I was anyway always very artistically bent, and I was wanting to pursue that. So I finished my undergrad from art school, and I came back, and I wanted to do my master's abroad because, I think around the age that I am at, when we were passing out from school is when in India the trend, started a lot to go abroad. I think it was there even much before, but I think I'm one of the only ones from my friends who's done my undergrad in India, and even post-grad actually. Everyone would go out abroad. So of course I had that bug in me that I want to go abroad and, do my master's and then live my life, be outside and do something of my own. And I think after doing my application for my master's, I was going to our company, and at that point in time, they were expanding and they were working on the whole corporate rebranding project, in which, given the background that I had, I thought I'll get involved and, I'll also contribute anyway. I have some time to kill till I go for my master's. And I think when I started working in the family business, I think it just evokes a different sense of accountability and responsibility and emotion, which I realized that that's something which is going to really take me at a very good height, along with not only my own growth but even the organization. And I thought that when I am putting in so much effort and contributing, I think us as a unit, and at that point in time, it was just my dad from the family who was involved in the business. So then me was going to be an added hand, and I thought us as a unit can definitely contribute more than me putting the same amount of contribution somewhere else. So like I said, it just evokes this different sense of responsibility and accountability. And even for the people who work for you, the emotion that you have, I think all that was something which kind of made me realize that I think this is what I want to continue doing, and I just got even more involved. And then I further went on to do my post-graduation in business in ISB, and I think because that worked out well in me wanting to go pursue a master's, even something which is relevant to the business. So I think that's pretty much been my journey, and since it's been 8 years now, I've not looked back, and I think it's the best decision that I made in my life. And yeah, so that's what my journey has been so far.
Yeah, they will. We are eager to hear you.
I think my journey is pretty different than how you describe, Priya. My journey spans for about 20 years in a technical numbers, but in Gujarati families, most of you would agree that entrepreneurial journey starts very early because your dining table actually becomes your boardroom. Your dad comes home and starts telling you about the business and all, and unlike you, I was always wanted to be with my dad and wanted to work with him. Dad was a founding member of Make Money Group. We are into chemicals, and I have always seen him from a child because he was a first generation entrepreneur and started with just 5,000 rupees current turnover, and it's a listed company, so I can say that current turnover is 5,000 crore. But I have seen him covering himself in complete blue and telling his heroic stories. So for me, he was the hero, and I always wanted to do what he was doing. And with that, I decided that I don't want to waste any time in internship and all. I'll straight away do undergrad, straight away do masters in the US and join the family business. That exactly happened how I wanted. And I guess 13, 14 years with him, where we became the first Indian company to list in Singapore Exchange, where I played a very critical role. I got early start to do some very critical project for which a lot of chartered accountants or company secretary would strive for years. Like listing your company is a very big thing. A lot of chartered accountants in their career or company secretaries in their career do not get that chance. I joined company in 2002. We got listed in Singapore in 2004. Then some rules changed and we had to compulsory list in India in 2006. In 2008, we came out with the Make Money Organics came out with its subsidiary Make Money Finechem Limited, which got funded by World Bank. I got opportunity at that time to work on that project. We became the first company in Asia to promote women employment in the chemical sector because I was driving that project. And we made sure that our entire thermal plant of 60 megawatt power plant was run by women. No man, all women were running our power plant. So I think because I was a woman, I was so passionate about promoting women employment. It was a male-dominated sector, chemicals. In 2013-14, when both the companies, Make Money Organics and Make Money Finechem, which is now a separately listed company, were doing good, I started asking question, quite opposite to what you were asking, is that the company is growing, but what is my personal value addition? Because the company was at a stage that even though I want to make a mistake and learn from my mistake, there was no room for it. Because there were so many professionals, probably more than my age, with that experience, who would not make me, or rather will not allow me to make a mistake and learn from the mistake. We got a chance, or rather the company decided to put up a real estate unit as an expansion from the chemical sector. And since I was managing finance, accounts, and investor relation, वो ऑडिट का कीड़ा होता है अंदर जब व्हेन यू आर मैनेजिंग फाइनेंस. सो आई सेड आई विल गो एंड चेक जितने पैसे दिए आर्किटेक्ट को कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को वेदर द वर्क हैज़ बीन एग्जीक्यूटेड एज पर दैट. When I went to the site, I realized that even my common sense, my general mathematical knowledge somehow not adding up to the kind of money that we have paid. So I said, till we recover the money, let me understand this business, because to ask questions also you need to have a knowledge for it. So I went to my dad's friend and I said, at that time, believe me, in 2013-14, I actually didn't know what is square feet. I mean, maths में कहीं पे पढ़ा था square feet, but I actually didn't know square feet. I went to one of the builder who is my dad's friend, our neighbor. I said, explain to me how to check the bills. And from there my journey started. And I started actually enjoying it so much because I thought that all the projects designed, I mean, no offense to man, they are beautiful buildings, but there are certain aspects where a woman perspective can add a lot of value to building and its design in terms of safety, in terms of using each and every inch of a designed house, because women can visualize human movements better. That was my idea. And from there on, I thought real estate is such a nice business. From B2B in chemical, I said I'll be jumping into B2C. I love to interact with people. I said this will be the best business. So, and I talked to my dad. He was very, very encouraging. He said, start. So, like a lot of other entrepreneurs who start early, you know, there are issues with finance. I would say that I was blessed that I never had that angle to look after, which is a major thing. And I thank God and my parents for that. That finance was taken care of, and he gave me an initial seed capital to start with. And then currently I did about 6 projects, including warehousing, plotting, commercial buildings, residential buildings. And I'm actually enjoying, because at the national meet of all builders, they said that there is no archiving of a lady who has started a real estate company on her own. So I felt it's a big honor to have, and that also gave you a lot of accountability, that now you have to deliver because you are carrying a lot on your shoulder now on. So that's a little sum up of my journey.
Yeah. It's been very inspiring to hear all of you. I pose my next question in context to what you said, Priya. Priya, you were into art and creativity and you entered this business. Is there any synergy or any similarity into this business when you are into now?
I mean, skill-wise, no. But I think, as far as I am concerned, I think for me, there's no compartment with one being something that I love. I think I love both equally. And, you know, if you have a passion for anything, I don't think there can be anything which can differentiate. So in my mind, I don't think there is any differentiation as such. Of course, my skills that I would have acquired during that, I get to use it in some or the other ways with respect to, say, our brand strategy or something or the other. But I think that the level that we are at this point, and I don't know if you both will agree, I think y'all have to, like, we have to just have it all together. You know, after a point, I don't think it matters if there is any particular aspect or any subject that you've liked all your life. I think after a certain point, it doesn't matter. I think you have to just have it all together.
So you would never regret that, wish I would have been in the creative world?
I have no regrets.
Okay,
absolutely no regrets.
Great. And Deval, I come to your question. See, you were into chemical business and it was very comfortable business, everything was there. And then you thought, no, apne ko jana hai to real estate mein jana hai. So why real estate? There were many other things where you could have been excited.
No, I said that Make Money did started a real estate division. But then, of course, then I started my own after that completion of that project.
So that was always interesting you ki you should go for a real estate business.
No, it was never initial interest. Okay. It was just that कि पैसे चला गया है तो उसको कैसे recover करना है. That was the whole idea because we are managing finance, companies finance. I said पैसा गया है, but it doesn't show. If they are saying X crore has been spent on the site, it has to show. So first you do a typical maths. कितना गया है, इतना square feet का building है, you know that typical maths. Somehow it was not adding up. Your common sense was not adding up then. But then when I started looking at the project, I thought it's a fantastic thing because instead of B2B, it is B2C. Yeah. At that time, I actually didn't know that there are no many ladies actually on the field. So there were a lot of interesting incidents that happened, but kind of I started enjoying it very nicely. I mean, and also the sector accepted it very nicely.
Right. Lot to learn, yeah. So my next question, when I pose it, before that there is a statement saying entrepreneurship is not a solo business, right? It's not a solo journey. So what were the typical challenges you faced? First of all, being women and being in the organization, and people have to report you. So what did you do for that? You know, people don't accept because ये तो owners की daughter है, तो हमें सुनना ही पड़ेगा. But you don't get that respect. So what is it? What you did to gain that respect?
So I'm a very friendly person. I can talk to a baby or the oldest person in the room, and I can make anyone feel comfortable. I think that helps in developing trust. Whenever I was in college, I used to come back for my breaks. I would go to the office, just form relationships with everyone. You know, we were 50 people at that time. We're almost 85 right now. So it is very important to build that one-to-one relationship. That builds trust. After that, people come to you with their little problems. You try to listen to them. You see in every manner if you can help them. So I never faced a challenge, to be very honest, in terms of being a leader. People were like, oh yeah, thank you, Anushri is here now, she's listening to us.
So we are fed up of the other one, aisa?
No, they love my father, there's no issue with that. But they're like, you know, because in architecture, there are people from my generation, and even like the Gen Z is also there, so I can relate to them more. And little things like the flexible timings, right? From being at a 10 to 7 kind of a job, now I have to explain to everyone that no, in a creative field, we can work in a different model as well, and let's do it. So flexible times was really appreciated, and all these other interventions that came because I was listening to them, and I had that trust, and that's why the acceptability came in quite
Okay, so
easily.
you didn't have to make any special efforts.
No, I think it's just my nature.
Okay, what about Priya?
general.
People accepted you on the day one?
No, I think, of course, you know, you're so young, and I don't know about women or men. I don't know much about that. But I mean, of course, because there are still people in my organization who've been there since inception.
More than your age.
More than twice my age.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. And, you know, much older. So in the beginning, yes, there is, you know, that resistance which you see. But from what I have learned is that I don't think there is any point in fighting it or, you know, feeling bad about that. I think the point is to get accepted based on the value you are adding. And I think that should be your focus as opposed to, you know, wanting to be accepted, wanting to make people happy. I don't think that's the objective. The objective is to grow, and I think everyone's objective is one, which is to work for the company and do the best for that. And I think when you align and when people see you're adding value, then I think the burden of acceptance goes on to them and not you. So I think that's what
I
I've
come to
thought
this typical example. For example, you have proposed something or somebody has to report to you, and then they say कि ये तो उनके डैडी से बात करेंगे तो हो जाएगा, इनसे बात करना नहीं चाहिए. So has that type of situation ever happened to your organization, and how did you handle it? It happens now in the beginning of the company when you start and there's a newcomer and अरे इनको नहीं पता होगा, you know, I've been working with his dad, it's her dad, and I should go and tell him. So ऐसे situation तो आई होंगे आपके organization में. Some typical examples like this.
Yeah, I think, yes, I think these things happen. I don't particularly know any one example or any one person that I can think of. But yes, it happens, you know, where, like I said, you're inexperienced. So people will obviously not trust your decision. But I think, like in such cases, I think your hard work and your dedication. And I think it's also important for you to understand what your shortcomings are and your weaknesses are. You know, if I try to show myself that whatever you're talking about, I know basis the designation I have, it's not possible. I think no one person in the company can know everything. So I think you have to sort of accept your gaps, and the person coming into you for any recommendation, you should be open if like you both can, if you both are there to solve a problem. And I think if you are also going to add that value back, I think over time one is going to have, that trust. And you know, if you both have the same intention, I don't think like that matters after a given time.
Great. I am sure they will. Nobody would have objected to you ever.
No, I think I had tough time earlier because when I started in 2002, there were issues because the first employee of dad is still with him. So they don't have an issue of reporting to you or anything, but they were outsiders. Like I know one of the prominent bank's officer, he made a comment saying that घर की कंपनी है तो लड़की को डायरेक्टर बनाएंगे. He made that comment and he made it very publicly in the bank consortium meeting. And I didn't respond to him at that time, but I waited because the IPO was around the corner. I know I was leading the IPO team. So I was not trying to prove a point, but I knew that post-IPO, he would probably the one who would come and say that there was a good work. So, and that happened. And I just told him that as a younger sister of yours, I want to say that don't judge anyone. No other female you should judge by then. There were a couple of whispers in the organization that you find saying that abhi aa rahi hai, fir shaadi ke baad she may not come. Abhi aa rahi hai, fir after the kid she may not come. There are always the questions, but as Priya rightly said, you know, your hard work, your determination, you know, all these things, you can put those things behind. And there are challenges during that whole process. When I started, there were less entrepreneurs, but I also believe that somewhere down the line, institutes like you should also stop categorizing us as women entrepreneurs. You should just say entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because when you categorize us as women entrepreneurs, then, you know, because we don't say man entrepreneurs or male entrepreneurs, we just say entrepreneurs. And I believe entrepreneurs, if we associate a gender with it, then you have a whole set of different questions with that. So if AMA start that, it was great, because then you are just recognizing the sheer talent of entrepreneurship and just awarding someone or calling someone not based on gender, but based on what they've achieved, whether it is male or female.
Except. And the experience which you had, that makes me feel that being from the same family, it is more, you know, you have to work more harder than anybody who comes as an employee.
No, I think typically even male joinee of any family
I'm
business,
not talking about male or female.
also faces the same issue. Only they don't get to hear कि शादी के बाद नहीं आएगी, बच्चे के बाद नहीं आएगी. But rest of the time, what you rightly ask her कि we'll go and talk to your dad because you are in that also. I see that even my brother or my dad's partner's sons also have faced it, and we had discussed that during lunch, because we always used to have lunch together. And lot of time, if a new person has come in, he would share that, you know, this XYZ VP said ki we'll talk to your dad or we'll talk to XYZ, the senior, because you are new. But somewhere down the line, we have to say that, okay, the kids are there and they will also learn from mistake. You know, with due respect to all our seniors and dad, 0 to 5,000 is a very tough journey. But 5,000 to 10,000 or 15,000 is also a tougher journey because you are burdened with a lot of expectations. Their mistakes are hidden because they've achieved it so much. Your mistakes will be visible because now there are so many eyes constantly looking at you. So, of course, now I'm out of it. I have my own business and I don't report to anyone. And that's a great feeling to have, because
so
I'm not reporting to anyone, everyone reports to me.
Yeah, so you don't have the pressure of making it to 10,000 right now.
No, whatever I'll do will be always probably my kids to have that burden for. I'm not reporting to anyone. So it's a great feeling. Of course, there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulder. But deep down, I actually go very happy that I don't have to report to anyone.
Yeah. So, you know, we were talking about human resource in your organization. So, many times it may happen with you particularly, because you're into creative field, like designers. So, the retention is very, very difficult task to retain people. So, how do you do that? That is my first question. Second is that, you know, you have to keep the balance between, you know, people say the creativity has no limits, sky is the limit. Now, you have to tell them don't think much because the budgets are low. So, how do you manage this? These are two questions which I am trying to pose you, yeah?
Okay. So, for any consultancy, human resource is the most important aspect of the business, right? In designers, we are not trained to have a business sense. Like, none of us do have it. So that is why whatever base industry standards was set years ago is what is kind of being used as a thumb rule to set up the businesses of designers per se. So nobody has ever questioned if these industry standards are right or wrong, which are heavily wrong, in my opinion. So when I had joined 2.5 years ago, our attrition rate was at the highest. was, I would say, almost 35%. And it was very shocking because, it had almost become like a training center that someone would come, spend a year or two, learn the basics and leave. But, and nobody even understood that it takes a lot of time and energy to train, and that's a lot of capital from the office investment that is going, right? So I came in, and that is when we started a little bit of an HR intervention. That is why my friendly nature probably helped in, because I went around, asked for what the problems are, let me listen to you, let me try to find a solution for it, and of course, increase the pay that nobody else can compete with my pay at the same time. And it is very important to have a very happy workspace, is what I truly believe in and what my father as well believes in. So these are the reasons why we just got the reports recently, and it's just 10%, less than 10%. So it has been quite a major difference, and yeah, now it'll be on to the next challenge related to that. Your other question was?
Was that how do you control the creativity of people because of the budget constraints?
So I think that's a very wrong notion that everyone has, that I don't think creativity is hampered by a particular budget. Yes, of course, right? If you're doing an extremely luxury house, you can't come with a budget of a medium small house, right? Like you can't expect to have that 1 crore ka, you can't expect to see ke हाँ मुझे वो 1 CR का chandelier चाहिए, पर ये है. It is my responsibility as a designer to make sure what your budget is and be creative in that. So we only ask our clients that please be clear about your budgets. There is nothing right or wrong. It is okay if we don't have that very expensive piece. It probably won't even suit the space, suit the brief that we have set for you, right? And we have done some really wonderful projects in that case. We did a social project for the Manav Sadhana school years ago, and we had to get creative. We used, for the window shading panels, we used like broken glass bottles and made a shade out of it. We used cut bamboo pieces, and we had to get creative. And as I said, like, I don't think it really matters that the budget hampers your creativity per se.
Okay, because why I'm saying, because we are from advertising.
Yeah.
So what happens is that we are also into creative field. So people who are working on big campaigns, if you tell them to work on a single ad, they don't like it.
Yeah.
So it becomes very difficult to handle them.
Yeah.
So in your case also similarly, if they've been working on crores of projects, like
Yeah.
with value of crores, and you tell them that is a social project. So are they interested in doing that?
So you have to find out who is interested in what categories of project in the office as well, right? Certain people might be, okay, my expertise here is in luxury segment. But for example, my expertise in affordable homes, I would like to do 50 projects a year and I'm happy. So it is very important to recognize that and allot work accordingly.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So Virginia Rometry had said one day, I learned to always take on things I had never done before. Growth and comfort do not coexist. So what was the fear and apprehension you had when you started the company or you entered the organization? There may be some apprehension कि यार क्या होगा यार, गड़बड़ हो जाएगी, पता नहीं.
I think apprehension never stops, so I don't think it was only there in the beginning. I think it carries on like till you're there, fear, apprehension, because there's so much at stake. Stakes are high, and there's so much responsibility that you've taken on. So, I mean, of course, that I don't think that is something which you face only in the beginning. That's something which carries on.
Okay, if I put it in different way, the first day you entered the organization,
Yes.
what was the thinking you had? The first day of your first job or first organization?
Yes, I think what Deval said is that one thing is to start an organization, but to preserve the legacy and to take the brand promise forward is something which I meant to say when I was saying apprehension and fear is something which continues to be, because I think that is what is still something which you can lose sleep on, because it like you said, to make it reach to a certain point, one will always applaud them and be, oh, you've started it, so your journey. But to preserve that and to be authentic to the brand promise that you've given, and at the same time grow, and also be compared to somebody who's so much more seasoned, because your parent who's started it, I think, so those are things. So the expectations that people have from you from the beginning, I think it's more to do with that, because then you're always compared to your senior, your father, your mother who started the organization, who's obviously 30, 40 years into it, where you've just joined. But people just sort of expect you to be as good, and they just expect you to, you know, make the correct decisions right from the beginning. And I think that makes you fear of making a wrong decision, but making wrong decisions is something which I think helps you so much. And I've learned it now the hard way, is that I don't think I want to run away from making mistakes, and allowing people from making mistakes, because it's fine to do that, and that's the only way you learn and progress, I think. So
that was my next question to you about the failures, but you had answered it, right? So good that, you know, you are coming up. I think this session is coming out of your heart. Everything is coming out from heart, right? So Deval, what about you? What was the first day कि करना ही है, तोड़ डालेंगे अपन, ऐसा तो कुछ होगा ही आपका?
Not really like that, because I remember I attended my first meeting in a school uniform in 11th grade. Dad called me because we were pretty early when private equity placement was a new fancy term. We had our private equity placement somewhere in late 90s. And Dad just called me that straight from school, you come down to office. In that whole meeting, I didn't understand a thing. But he said that they are going to be our partners and they will be with us, so you better be friendly with them. So I said fine, and then I sat through the meeting, and then I started enjoying, because whatever was submitted to them, they started getting it every quarter to me to read. And then I joined the commerce stream, so then I started, all the reports that came in started making a lot of sense. Probably that early education helped, because I started interacting. He put me in touch with the company secretary, the chartered accountants, that if you have any doubt, you talk to them. Don't talk to me, because they are making the reports. So when I actually joined in the company and we then were thinking about the IPO, it came easy because I was already talking to them. I think that was a very early education that helped. But of course, everyone comes with some apprehension that, you know, and you have heard and you have seen Dad as hero, and to fit into such a large shoes on day one is anyway very difficult, because you can't run with that burden. So you are very apprehensive, and there are points to prove, and I guess, and somewhere down the line I was the first one to start from the second generation. So you also don't have much of a safety net, because if you have some issues, you are struggling on the HR front from the lower levels and all, you actually don't know a colleague, you could rightly so say a colleague, to turn and discuss. So when the second one joins, you are already there to comfort them. And the last one, he has an easy walk, because there are all pundits who will be telling ki ye to hoga hi tera saath, ye to ragging hoga hi. So, but the first one is a little tough, and I think, so there are issues, you know, small issues like, you know, you come with a specific car because you are born in a blessed family, and someone who is probably a little higher up is still not getting that car. So people will always look at you when you park your car, and I guess some small body language, probably as a woman you understand the body language, that unko shayad lagta hoga ki we are IIM graduate, and you know. So there are issues, but I told and I discussed with Dad one day, and of course with Jayanti Kaka, Dad's partner, I said, this is what I feel. They said, whatever it is, we started our company for our kids and not for any professionals. And I think that was pretty blunt statement, and I said, and they said after that statement that we want to make sure that you kids actually take it up in 1 or 2 years and prove the kind of education and training we have given. So after making that very strong, blunt statement, immediately they took a turn and said, now it is your responsibility, you manage. Yeah. And I think they, of course, they gave a lot of safety net, but there are issues to start with.
Great, yeah. So, you know, being from a successful business family, as rightly Priya was also mentioning, that you have pressures to perform better and at least perform different, right? So I often meet a lot of second generation entrepreneurs, and when I discuss with them, तो उनको नहीं पता है पापा को, you know, पापा के टाइम पे अलग बात होता था, अभी के टाइम पे अलग बात है. But I always tell them that there is a wisdom which comes from your first generation of the person who started the business. So I want to know from you, which is very close to my heart, this question. What is that wisdom you got from your father or your, you know, first generation, which you have adapted and you are carrying it on?
the wisdom that I think I've learned over these few years is that point number one, change and innovation takes time. So I think when we enter the business, we expect things to change in a certain way, and people expect us to change things, which so that expectation is there from us. And early on, I used to get very upset by the fact that I'm trying so hard. People are not people are not changing ways. But I think over time, the wisdom that I've learned is that any innovation or any transformation, you have to be patient in order to see the results. So I think that's one wisdom which has helped. And the other thing that I mentioned earlier is that I think it's very unfair to be hard on yourself and be very averse to mistakes. I think mistakes is the only way that you will see the change through, and you will also learn on the way. So even not only making mistakes yourself, but even allowing people to make mistakes, I think that is one thing which I've learned over the past years, that these things are inevitable, and there's not much that you can do to fight that. So
Great. Yeah, what about you, Anushri? We want to have the secrets. Yeah.
So, my father is, of course, my biggest inspiration, and he is an extremely calm person. Like, he would never get angry. I would say it's almost like a saint. Like, imagine 100 different clients, all from different backgrounds. Dealing with that is difficult. It's not an easy job, and he's never gotten angry. If you ask anybody on the outside, they will always say he's a gentleman. And I do learn from that no matter what, in any situation, no matter how big the situation is, never let the steam go, because you're not thinking right. Take a pause, step out, and then probably just think about it again, and then probably have that answer going on. So I think that is what I try to constantly learn from him, generally.
Yeah. What about you?
I want to learn this one from you, that don't get angry. I guess what I learned from dad and his partners, or I think from that matter for anyone, would be the kind of they understand their business so well that even if professionals are making reports and taking so much time, the kind of question they ask, they actually understand the business. The knack of asking the right question, because that comes with a first generation. And I was always amazed when they pose question to professionals. They spent like weeks making reports, and the right question that comes in was so apt for business. And I always used to find it so amusing that how is this that they always ask the right question, and they try to drive the meeting for growth and towards betterment of business after that question, because somehow I was never able to master that. But luckily, when I started that business, my own business, I realized that it comes naturally to someone who is a founder, because you have that passion to drive it to a point and to achieve the result. So probably your engineer will come out with all sorts of calculation. You would still say, no, I'm right. The calculation has to be this way only. Because since you have managed it from grassroots, your question, your understanding of the business is so good. And your passion, when you talk about your business, the kind of a twinkle that you have in your eyes, is so difficult and so different than other people. So I think that's what I could never understand at time of Make Money days. That came so naturally with Asiana Infrastructures.
Yeah, I totally agree, because many years back I used to work with an organization which had 4 IMs. They used to make reports with due respect to the institution.
Yes.
But the entrepreneur had one question which was tossed around. It was very difficult to answer them after making reports for 6 months. Right? So that is an incredible thing which you learn from, particularly from Gujarati entrepreneurs. Right? Yes. Yeah. Hats off to all of them. Yeah. So there is an inspirational quote by Thomas Alva Edison. He says that I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Right? So I would like to ask, starting from Anushri, that what is the biggest failure you saw in your journey, and what was the learning you had? Confess.
It's time to let the deep secret out,
Yeah.
I guess. Luckily, in my professional career, I have not really faced something, but I like to talk about my educational career in here. So I studied here in Ahmedabad, did my 12th, and my mom was very strict. She's like, you're not going to go abroad. I want you to stay here. And then I took it up as a challenge. No, if I apply to the world's best college, I will get in. And she's like, yeah, then I'll let you go. So I applied, I got in, I went to Architectural Association. It was a completely different ball game. I had to unlearn everything I had learned here. I was very underconfident over there in school. And I failed my first year. And I had to repeat that entire year. And that was like the lowest point in my life. So I came back, and during my 3 months, that spirit rose. कि भाई college ने तो fail कर दिया, पर कुछ तो दिखाना पड़ेगा अभी. So at that time, I know I was doing architecture, but furniture was a scale I could understand. So probably my first failed startup also in that case. So I started this company called Wayland, and Raw Collaborator was new at that time. So I was the youngest designer to showcase. I was invited to showcase at Raw, and I'd started my own furniture line. And वहाँ पे थोड़े ऐसे list of like 100 people plus कि oh, we want to buy this. But I knew nothing about how to actually manufacture everything. So फिर it failed as a company totally as well.
Good. So there was quite a lot of learning.
Yeah,
which you had,
quite a lot of learning from my college failing time.
Priya, you've been telling about failures. Give me some examples there.
So I think in the beginning when I joined, being enthusiastic and young and sort of underestimating what it takes to get things done, I think I would, and even we're a listed company, so we have to have our quarterly calls, etc. And in the first year, I think I would have like committed something which turned out to be a big overcommitment, and I was feeling so bad about it because in the next year's annual report, when my dad said that, it's annual reports are like chapters, it's chapter 1, chapter 2. So yeah, chapter 2 has to be in continuation to 1. And I remember the first initial years, I think I kind of underestimated that, like I said, change which takes time. Sometimes when you join, you feel like, oh, it's been so many years and this hasn't changed, or this, we've not been able to incorporate this. But the time that any kind of incorporating anything that it takes, I think that's what I realized in the first couple of years after I overcommitted and after I had to follow up on it myself is when, I realized that I think it's while it is great to be optimistic, but you have to be more realistic. And I think that only happens when you yourself get your hands dirty and, you start understanding that, it's like how much effort anything can take in terms of committing to your stakeholders. So I think initially that's what I used to,
Audience, are we learning? Yeah, enjoying it? Great, yeah. Deval, what about you? Some failures?
Not really much, but I would say that probably one I did not listen to my dad was in the academics. He wanted me to be an engineer, and I still regret that I should have been an engineer. I did not listen to him. That I don't know whether it's failure or anything, but I should have listened to him and should have been an engineer, because that would have given me a little technical edge that would help in life. And I think we should celebrate more STEM days so that we have more and more women who would not shy away. And I was a good student, so I could have done it. One mistake that probably I've done it when I started my independent project, I don't know it's a mistake, but I got a contractor on the board, and my senior engineer said that, ma'am, we should go and check out his work because whatever he's saying, somehow it is not gelling. And I don't know why I got carried away that I know him and he would do a fantastic job, and he showed me the pictures. And I went on with him, and probably the first honeycomb that I saw in the basement that petrified me. And I thought that even though I learned a mistake and I corrected it very early on in the project, is that, you should never go without seeing someone's work, because it is very, very important. We stay in an earthquake prone zone. We should go by someone very experienced. All those learnings, I got it, that don't go by the words, don't go by the face value, go and check the work. go and meet your vendors, meet them in their office, at their site, check their quality. All those lessons, I learned it at a very early on. I think that helped me so much that now I don't compromise on even 50, 100 rupees discount. I would like to go and check the quality. I will not change the vendor unless I am 100% satisfied, or I would say 200% satisfied. So all these things help me in the early on. With one mistake, I would say I made it. I didn't listen to my engineer. I apologized him also that you did draw my attention to it. I told him to shout at me next time if I make such a mistake.
Okay, great. So I have two more questions to go before we go to the audience. One is that what is your vision of the brand you're working with, or what is your dream statement?
So I think at this point in time, speaking of Hester particularly, we are in a little bit of a transitionary phase because it is a relatively new organization which was started by my dad 30 years ago, which is not that long if we compare other family businesses which are run in India. So I think at this point now I've been involved, since the last 8 years, and I think, over the past years, so we basically manufacture animal vaccines and went into animal healthcare. We started off as a poultry vaccine manufacturing company, then we diversified into livestock animals, and up until last year when I started in another division for companion animals, pet care. So I think the idea is, and our vision, our mission statement for the company says, better health for animals through better health for human beings. So I think for us, for me, the challenge is that, or rather not the challenge, but my area of focus is to just basically, of course, grow the organization in a geometric progression. We are also listed, and from we decided not to discuss numbers, but I think just to sort of, add that little bit of quantification to the whole discussion, I think from a 200 to 300 crore organization which we have built so far, I think the idea is now to really focus on execution, to really keep the brand promise alive, to make sure that we are a holistic overall animal health company rather than just focusing on any particular species or any particular product. So I think now the idea is to compete with the worldwide best animal health companies and, to cater to all the needs which can come through any species. And slowly we are diversifying and, adding species into our basket. So I think now the idea is to just become overall throughout the world, not only in India, but also grow exports. And we also have 2 other plants now, one in Nepal and one in Tanzania. So I think to become a global overall animal health company. So
wishing all the best. Yeah,
Thank
Anushri, what about you? What is your vision?
So up till now, I've just been talking about my design firm, HPA, right? So of course, for that, I would love to take it to a stage where we at least have 50% of international projects. As you said, you want to go global. We also want to go global with that. But with our real estate, we have 2 projects right now, which is in the weekend villas segment. I would like to tap into different style of experiential real estate projects, like student living, really change the programming, and that as being an architect, that is the value addition we give with our company. So grow that segment and probably have it across India as well. That is what would be fun.
Great. And Deval?
For me, Ashiana Infrastructures is a combination of my parents' name, Ashish and Naina. So I hold a lot of emotional value to that brand, and I would like to see that the brand takes on a national stage. I was discussing with Puneet in the morning, the reporter from Divya Bhaskar, and I just told him, he asked me the same question today, Manik, what's your vision? I said to him also that there is no lady billionaire in the real estate sector in India. So why not to start with one?
Wow, yeah, big round of applause. And we look forward
to that. It's a long way to go, but I think dream should always be bigger.
Yeah, definitely. So my last question of the session is, as a professional, whom do you admire as an entrepreneur? Yeah. And why?
Yeah, so as an entrepreneur or a lady entrepreneur?
Any.
I think I'll mention a lady, and I think this may sound a bit practiced or contrived, but I think, so I really look up to Indra Nooyi, and you know how like she was one of the first ladies of color, an Indian lady to work, not only to work, but to head a Fortune 50, conglomerate. And I think it's so relatable to hear her because, you know, being an Indian, and I think being lady and Indian, I think we all also have a lot of this age demographics where, you know, you're expected to be married at a certain age, you're expected to have a family. And I think one challenge is female entrepreneurs, which we didn't talk much, even though as much as the equality in gender has progressed, I think as ladies, we definitely bear the brunt of the age demographics, and we definitely have to trade off something. There definitely is a compromise somewhere, either personally or if you want to take that up professionally. So, and that's one thing which I think men do get excused of. And I mean, I don't know if everybody disagrees or agrees, but that burden is definitely there more with with women. And I think she very beautifully talks about it in whether it's her book or even her journey, if you see carefully, as to like how her trade-offs have been, how she's dealt with it. And I think it's so relatable also in the Indian context. And at the same time, because we look up to these big multinational companies and want to always learn as to how they've taken. So as a leadership role, as someone who's an Indian, I think she's done us all very proud. And I think every time I either read something of her or hear her, I think it's very inspiring. So
Great.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Anushri.
I look up to Sheila Maini Sogard. She is a CEO of BRK Ingalls Group, which is one of the biggest architectural practices across the world. 13 years ago, BRK was doing fabulous work, but they were almost about to declare bankruptcy. And Sheila joined in. It was a 50-people company. They were still winning international projects, international awards, but it was not doing financially well, which happens quite a lot in most design practices, as we don't have that design business sense. She came in, she changed the entire scenario. Now they have 6 offices across the globe. Most of the projects are all big museums and quite a lot in Middle East, and they're the most profitable architecture firm in the world, and I would like to do that to my company.
Great. Deval?
I would have said Indra Nooyi, but you covered it, most of it. But for me, I would say 3 people who have inspired me. One would be my grandmother and then my parents. Because I would say that my grandmother was quite a early rebel, I would say, and that stayed with me. She was the first woman to be graduated from Mumbai University. We were still, Maharashtra, Gujarat were still together. She was double graduate in 1940s, where women were not even encouraged to go out. She was double graduate with Visharad into musical stream also. So I think, and she always used to say that education will stay with you no matter what. I think that the women plays a very anchor role. How you look at your role as a woman is very critical, because when you have a very, very transformational, educative woman at top who is managing your family, automatically a lot of value system comes in place in terms of discipline, in terms of education, in terms of not restricting your studentship to just education, but also excel in other field of art and creativity and learn new things, because she also made sure that all her kids learn something. So you're a well-rounded, groomed personality that came to all 3 of her sons, and that through them, all 7 of us in the second generation. I think that is very important, because somewhere down the line, when you are an entrepreneur and talking only about money, somewhere down the line, your hobbies and passion will stay with you, and that stress, you need to take it out with some hobby that stays with you, whether it is reading or music or anything. And I think she led by that example throughout. And so for me, she was, and I was fortunate because she lived 101, and I could spend a lot of time with her. and then my parents, because my dad taught me all business and money and all, but my mom taught me art and creativity because she's a national award winner sculptor, and you know how they balanced and how they raised. So I think somewhere down the line, those values stay with you, and that's why probably I never had to look out. I had so many inspiration at home, and that inspiration with whom you can talk to, you can discuss, and they're always there with their back on and a shoulder and a very, very sympathetic ears to listen to. That's very important, because I think as an entrepreneur, there will be days where you actually want to shout and cry, because those are very, very down days. You know, probably your building use permission is not coming, or some issues that has happened at your site. You deal with 100 rupees wage earner to crore-patis who are buying your properties. In the spectrum you deal with is so wide, and there are government restriction and regulation, and in between that you have to still be mother as soon as you enter the house. So there are days where you want to cry, and you need some people like this around to probably the friends that you look up to. It's very important. So I think I'm blessed to have very, very nice safety net with whom I can talk to, and I would advise each and everyone to have that safety net, because there will be days where you actually, in your office you may be called as Hitler, but at home you really want to cry and discuss your problem. Half of your problems are solved when you discuss it out. You probably are not looking at solution also, but you want to just talk it out. And when you are the boss, when you don't have to report, the negative point is that there is no one who is actually are there to listen to your issues also, because with whom would you discuss that there are issues? And at that time your safety net will come very handy to you.
Great, yeah, great, yeah. So audience, any questions? Yeah, please. Great. So,
and make money is known to us long back, actually.
Great. Yeah, question? Yeah, please. Yeah.
I have a question for Devati.
Yes.
Infrastructure industry, it is a big challenge for physical validation, monitoring, and completion of project on time. If you delay, then your cost will go up, right? So how do you manage such projects, number one? And what are the things you have done differently which were not happening earlier in the industry?
Thank you for that question. As you rightly said, completion not only on the financial side, but also now since we have RERA Act in place, we have to deliver project in a specific time manner only. Even though RERA gives us a window, we cannot use that window completely, otherwise people will say project mein bhi khatam hone ko time hai, they will not come to you. So we have to write a very realistic timeline in place. Lucky that I never had the financial issues, as I said earlier, but you have expectation issue because you are dealing with B2C segment. So if someone is buying an apartment into you, they might have sold off their previous home, staying somewhere on the rental agreement, and you cannot deliver your project, then there is a huge guilty pressure on you. So time-wise completion is a must. And I see to it, as I earlier mentioned also, that I learned a great way by making a mistake, that I did not select the right contractor. Now I select the contractor or all the vendors or all the people who work at my site with probably 200% filtration, that I want them with their full manpower, money power, muscle power to finish my project on time. And lucky that after that one mistake, all my projects have been delivered on the timely basis. Your second question was how I did differently. I would say that I always look at design because typically I've worked with male architects, and sometimes I always tell them that I want to look at this design from a human movement perspective, because it's always the women who stay in the house. I'll discuss house and office differently, but house is where everyone stays. So from a newborn baby to very elderly people, I want to make sure that my design give them a modularity. You know, typically you see an ad covering an apartment saying that we have a 3-layer security system, we have CCTV in place. And I always ask myself that CCTV will help you analyze the crime after the crime has happened. You have to have a design in place which stops the crime. What's the point of looking at crime and crying once again? You know, you have to have a design modularity in place. So in actually all my apartment scheme, I try to make bedrooms on one side. I would see to it that there is a kitchen and the utility area. Thank you. Hello? Yeah. So I would see to it that my kitchen and utility area can be divided with a false wall or a partition wall later on, so that I don't have to lock my daughter in one room because she is the right owner of the house and not the support staff, because there will be days where you have to step out and your kids are alone or your elderly parents are alone in the house. But my design should give that flexibility. My design should give flexibility, like I've recently done luxurious apartments, so where I believe that women want a freedom. You know, she might be busy in work or doing a charitable work and all. So I want, like Mumbai, a flexibility that all the utilities, like she has a part-time cook coming in, they can access the house, not access the main house. So that design we have tried to incorporate, because I personally feel that as a woman I can design or can visualize the movement in place, looking at safety and convenience in place. So none of my scheme will have an automatic lighting, because that the sensor may stop functioning. I would say that we will cover the running cost of a tube light, but basements will have full lights always. There will be no enclosed space in the basement, because a lot of time people give servant quarters, but no enclosed space in the basement, because sometimes men do not understand the fear of an unknown basement. But women do feel that if I ask you to go -3 and say that you park your car there, because now -3, -4 has become a norm. For a woman to go into -3, which is dark, dungeon, has coveted spaces where you cannot see from one end to the other end, you do feel scared. And I understand as a woman that there is a serious safety concern when you are walking in that dark alley. So I see to it that there is enough lights and ventilation and sunlight as much as possible. And you can see from one end to the right end, the basement, no enclosed space. So these are all the small things I try to do it. I also try to have small things like garbage collection point, because you give marble foyer and then you keep a garbage outside. What's the point of giving a marble foyer when you don't have a garbage collection point? So there is no point then. So I try to incorporate smaller design aspect, which probably will increase your living standard. So you will feel happy when you are staying in my scheme.
Yeah, great. So we can take one more question to go. Yeah.
So I have recently gotten the opportunity to attend webinars and summits around the startup ecosystem or entrepreneurial journeys. And what intrigued me to ask one of the questions today was, while perseverance for any entrepreneur, having a belief or conviction or stubbornness in their ideas in the hindsight becomes perseverance. And while it's key, what do you all think about complacency with regards to businesses? And my second question is also about, since Devalma mentioned about categorizing women under the entrepreneurship ecosystem, do you think there's a prevalence for glass ceiling in entrepreneurial journeys? And if there is, and if one of you all could share any experience with regards to that?
I would say that at least for 3 of us, we have already broke the glass ceiling. I believe glass ceiling is in your mind. It never exists, because I have always said that that if you are dedicated and passionate about your work, gender doesn't take a prominent space. You know, people will recognize you. I only believe that when we say women entrepreneur very categorically, somewhere down the line, it is not right because we should be regarded as entrepreneur. I always say that don't mention chairperson also to me. I am a chairwoman and I'm very proud of being a chairwoman because I'm very proud of being a woman. Unless if it is a policy like all top 4 CA firms, KPMG, PwC, Ernst & Young, they say chairperson to both, male and female. So, but you put chairman and chairperson to me, I do not agree to it. Because somewhere down the line, you need to start very small. And it is very, very important because these things stay with you forever. I was in panel because I was always in male-dominated industry. I was in panel. I specifically told the anchor not to ask me a question about work-life balance. He did ask that question, and I saw that he did not ask to any male members. Now, when you ask that question always to female, hinting at, first of all, you are making her guilty, which is not required. Second thing, you are giving that additional pressure on her that managing home is your responsibility. Now, gender equality, I believe it's a myth. You need gender sensibility because what I do, man cannot do. What man can do, I cannot do. The biological differences exist and you have to accept it. In work, it should not exist. That is what my whole thing is. Women can never progress if men cannot come and share the responsibility at home also. So somewhere down the line, I always believe that I have more responsibility to train my son, not only to accept and empower women, but also to be part of a household thing. Otherwise, what's the point, you know, being a mother of a son and not teaching him all these basic things? So, we have to start small, but the change is rapid. Acceptability for your work is huge compared to what I used to see before 2 decades when I started. So you are in happy spot. You are very young.
Yeah, great, great. So we all feel enriched today by your versions and by your submission of the panel discussion, right? So before I close up and hand it over to Neeraj, I'll end it with a nice statement which was said by Michelle Rios. She says that if people are doubting how far you can go so far that they can't hear you, right? So I think we should summarize this discussion with this statement, and all yours, Neeraj. Yeah, yeah.
I think big round of applause to this free entrepreneur, not women. Okay, that's so great. I think I was just saying, I represent Apollo Hospital. Our chairman, vice chairman, managing director, all are female. Preeta Reddy, Sangeeta Reddy, and Sunita Reddy. And mind it, all three of them are non-doctors. We run Asia's biggest healthcare company with 73 hospitals across the country and the world. So big, round of applause to all three of them. I think I was so engaged, after doing an 8-hour job. I run Apollo Hospital in Ahmedabad, and after doing 8-hour jobs, hearing all of you is really very good, and excellent moderator, Mr. Sanjay Chakravarti. I have seen him holding quiz fantastically. First time I'm hearing this thing. I think it is good. And to the wonderful audience, I have seen not even a single one. Everybody was so engrossed and cheering them up. Thank you all. I think it is fantastic. In healthcare, since some of you connected with healthcare, I think the most important part in healthcare, like say for example hospital, we got 65% of the employees which are females. And I think all the staff, nurses and supervisors, I think they're in the hospital 24/7. In hospital, we don't have, it is a job of a man or a female. And I think female nurses are always the best. Doctor depend upon them. And I think now we are seeing a new age of doctors where females are participating doctor. The days were there where orthopedic surgeons are not female, where cardiologists are not female. But now I have seen the trend have changed. 37% of the doctors are females. And I think emotional quotient is good. So I think that makes you perfect. Thank you very much. And I think we have learned a lot from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.